got work to do.
Today is December 2nd. The time is 6:30 p.m., and I am calling this meeting of the Macomb Township Board of Trustees to order, and we will start with the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Clerk Posey is absent, so Deputy Clerk Cardamom will be fulfilling the clerk duties today. Deputy Cardamom, will you please call the roll?
Trustee Cusimano?
Here.
Trustee Lucido?
Here.
Trustee Oliver?
Here.
Trustee Papa?
Here.
Treasurer Drollet?
Here.
Supervisor Viviano?
Here. Moving on to approval of the agenda. Do we have any additions, deletions, or corrections?
Yes, we do have one proposed add-on. That would be item number 14. Request to authorize the Township Treasurer and the Township Supervisor to execute a modified grant agreement with the State of Michigan for the purpose of completing the road improvement and public safety project at 21 Mile Road and Heidenreich Road.
Chair, I move we approve the agenda with that addition.
Trustee Kuzma supports Treasurer Drollet's motion.
Is there any questions or discussion on approving the agenda? Hearing none, motion by Treasurer Gillette, supported by Trustee Kuzmano to approve the agenda with the proposed add-on. Members, please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Moving on to approval of the bills.
Motion to approve?
Support. Any questions or discussion on the bill run? Hearing none, motion by Treasurer Gillette, supported by Trustee Papa, to approve paying the bills. Members, please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Approval of the previous meeting's minutes from November 25th, 2025.
Trustee Kuzmano makes the motion to approve the previous minutes as presented.
Support. Who was that, Pete?
Yep.
Any discussion on the previous meeting's minutes? Hearing none, motion by Trustee Kuzmano, supported by Trustee Lucido to approve the previous meeting's minutes from November 25th. Members, please vote. Motion passes unanimously. All right, this will take us to our first public comment of the evening. This is for agenda items only. Anyone who wishes to make public comment on an agenda item may do so now at the podium. I don't see anyone making a move, which is surprising because there's an open mic and Mark Eccles in the room. Moving on to the consent agenda.
Mr. Chair, I move the consent agenda in its entirety.
Support.
Any questions or discussion on the consent items? Hearing none, motion by Treasurer Gillette, supported by Trustee Lucido to approve the consent agenda. Members, please vote. Motion passes unanimously. All right, this is going to take us to our first presentation of the evening. First, we have SEMCOG joining us today to discuss the TAP grant. So, Mr. Box, would you mind telling us about our application, please?
Chair, by way of clarification for those members of the public who don't understand the acronym, SEMCOG is the,
Oh, I'm sorry, Southeast Michigan Council of Governments,
and the TAP stands for,
Transportation Alternative Program Grant.
Thank you.
Mr. Box is going to explain that grant right now.
excellent.
Thank you, Supervisor and Board. Many of you are aware that we've had a town center planned for decades at this point in Macomb Township, and we're finally moving forward with the extension of Broughton Road. You see some renderings on the screen behind you. Part of that being, a downtown means that it would be a walkable, bikeable community, as some of these renderings indicate. There's plans for commercial as well as residential. And for the TAP grant, we applied for the mixed use path or mixed use pathways, shared use pathways, for pedestrian movements, bicycle movements, so we can have that walkable, bikeable downtown area. And as you see on these renderings, that they'll be 10 feet wide, concrete, and everything basically from Town Hall South that you see in the light pink color there would be covered in there. That's from back of curb to the edge of the 10-foot pathway. That includes landscaping as well as the pathway itself.
Thank you, Mr. Box. And with us is Executive Director of Southeast Michigan Council of Governments, Amy O'Leary. Floor is yours.
All right, thank you. Good evening, everybody. I just wanted to start tonight by,
Sorry, that one's a little testy.
yeah, it knew I was going to say that. I want to say hello, and I grew up in Macomb Township, so I don't know that many people know that here, and so it's an added pleasure to be here in my hometown and how much I enjoyed growing up there. My parents, Fran and Chuck, still live on 21 Mile Road. My grandparents, Robert and Helen Weber, were the ones who owned the farm that is now Waldenburg Park. And my uncle, Harold Rosso, was on your planning commission 30-some years ago. So that's just to say that my family and I have been embedded in this community for a really long time. And so it's really rewarding to be able to see all of the exciting projects and ideas that you have under the leadership of Supervisor Viviano and all of you on the board. So I just want to say thank you from somebody who grew up here. So I am the Executive Director of the Southeast Michigan Council of Governments. SEMCOG is a membership organization where 186 local governments are members of our organization. That's representing about 5 million people across 7 counties of Southeast Michigan. We also have numerous federal designations, and one of them is to do the federal transportation planning as the Metropolitan Planning Organization. We also are the Economic Development District. We have federal designations for air and water quality planning as well around metropolitan Detroit. But as the MPO for transportation, one of our jobs is to look at long-range transportation projects in the region, including a $3.1 billion transportation improvement program, or TIP, for the region, of which about $1 billion a year comes from the federal government that works through SEMCOG to implement transportation projects in Southeast Michigan. As the MPO, though, and I should also mention, appreciate how much the supervisor is involved now with SEMCOG, which is kind of a first in the 30 years that I've worked here. He's a member of our executive committee at SEMCOG, and actually he's an officer of mine, which is the highest that you can be at SEMCOG. So appreciate all that Frank brings to the table for SEMCOG. But one of the programs that we help facilitate is called the Transportation Alternatives Program, and that is federal dollars that come out of what's currently the bipartisan infrastructure law, and it really makes a difference in our region. And just to give you an idea, this program's been around for 20 years, but in the 10 years that we've run it, we've invested over $100 million in 160 projects across Southeast Michigan. So a lot of really great things are happening, and we really appreciate the support federally of Representative McLean and James and what they do. Our program is actually in discussions right now for reauthorization. So we like to make sure that our representatives, our senators, know how important some of these programs are for us back at home, and all of the things that they are able to successfully do for Macomb Township and Southeast Michigan. So today we're here to celebrate a TAP award, so we call it TAP, to Macomb Township by SEMCOG's Regional Review Committee. So the Regional Review Committee is entirely comprised of elected officials, and we as staff take in all the projects and we help, do the pros and cons, but it's really the elected officials that make the decisions on the project. They really enjoyed hearing about what's going on in Macomb Township and specifically about this project. So I can tell you that one of the things that they like to do is be able to address gaps in our non-motorized network. The project does that with really a visionary approach to more rural and suburban landscapes, and you can see the picture of what you all know better than I, but I've been really invested in looking at what you're trying to achieve here, and it's really amazing, and we're excited to be a part of it. You should be commended as the project's stormwater solutions, on-street parking, planned roundabouts are all part of a comprehensive vision to increase the safety and connectivity with a sustainable approach to development. We like to make sure that all of our pathways are ADA accessible and safe access that allows safe access to schools, libraries, the town hall, and key other major points of emphasis. So I'd also like to mention, as a township, you all need to make sure that your county is actually the sponsor as the Act 51 agency. And we have always seen that Macomb County and the Roads Department is very active with the townships when it comes to the TAP funds, and we really do appreciate that from the county. I wanted to invite Mark Eckel up, if you wanted to say a couple words as the one who actually is the author of this project for the county.
See, Frank, I'd find my way to that microphone
I have a kill button up here, don't worry.
via Amy. And first off, Amy and the work that she does with SEMCOG, I think you know, probably as well as many of us and those that are listening at home. Incredible work on behalf of the municipalities that are represented by SEMCOG. And I say that not just because we're getting $2.6 million here for Macomb Township for this particular project, but I've witnessed and seen the work that she has done, and she's incredibly responsive to all of our needs and anytime we have questions and concerns. But this project, when you all brought this up, I got to tell you, there was absolutely no question in my mind. I'm a resident of Macomb Township, you know, traveling the roads here in Macomb County for a long time, patrolling the roads in and around our neighborhoods, specifically in Macomb Township. We know there's some challenges that need to be met, but the working relationship we have with this entire board, and obviously, Frank, with your leadership, has been absolutely incredible. On behalf of our Department of Roads, I want to thank you for that, because working together, we're going to be able to solve these problems. This project, when you brought it to us, you know, it was an eye-opener. This is a game changer. This is transformative for Macomb Township. We hear about municipalities talking about downtown areas. This is going to be something special for Macomb County, not just Macomb Township. And it is really going to drive a lot of residents in and around this area. But with that being said, that was part of the planning moving forward. It wasn't just about this particular stretch of roadway. It was about the impact it would have on other roadways in and around this area. The engineers know that better than I do. And when we had those conversations, our Department of Roads director is an engineer. All those challenges were brought forth. And we kind of massaged through that, had conversations, and I think everybody is fully on board and engaged to try to make this project happen. This funding will help immensely, and I want to thank Amy for that, but there's no question about it. If there wasn't that continued work relationship that we have with all of your engineers, the folks working on your planning department, and yourselves, this could have been a little bit more difficult. So on behalf of JP, you all know John Paul Ray, you all know Brian Santo, on behalf of myself, we're committed to making this project successful here in Macomb Township with your leadership. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr.
All right, and Supervisor Viviano, I want to welcome you to the check.
So, before I come out and receive that big, beautiful check, I just want to say, first of all, express my gratitude on behalf of the entire board for SEMCOG and the committee's decision to award us this TAP grant. This type of funding is the only way this project is going to take shape. We have, I think everyone knows by now, have been working on this for a couple of years. Started with some funding received by Senator Kleinfeld, got us some seed money. Representative Aragona was in the room not too long ago, getting us a little bit more money for some safety features, some roundabouts, and this grant. So we've pulled together over $10 million to get this stretch of road done. And Executive Hackle's right. This is not just a stretch of road. We are going out of our way to make sure that this is a destination, that this is placemaking at its core. And in all the professionals we've spoken to, they've never done something like this before. Director Santo was taken aback by our request at first, but they've been great partners. They have helped us weave through all the issues, all of the safety issues, all the regulatory issues that we needed to get through. And obviously, as a township, we depend on our road agency to build our roads for us, but we ask for a lot more than just building roads. They've been a tremendous partner. And I can't thank Mark, I can't thank Brian enough, and everybody, JP, for helping us bring this vision to life. This will be something even that, we hope is going to be generations of Macomb Township residents, Macomb County residents are going to feel the impact of what we do here over the next couple of years. Our engineering firm that we're working with is one of the best. They have a national presence. They have told us they've never seen a project like this before. People talk about redevelopment all the time, right? Mark, how many downtowns in Macomb County have wanted to reinvent themselves over the past 20 years? Quite a few. No one has ever taken a farm field and created something completely new out of it like this. This is a first. So thank you to all of you. I appreciate it.
All right, you want to go accept the check on behalf?
I will.
Thank you.
So before we move on to any other business, I want to take a minute and recognize all the folks that joined us here for this tremendous award today. We have representatives from Lisa McLean's office is here, Mohammed Schmidi is here, Phil Rode from John James' office is here, Carrie Jans from Representative Aragon's office is here. So thank you all for your support, to our congressional representatives, and of course, Joey Aragona has been a great friend of the township ever since he's been elected as state rep. So thank you to everybody. Anybody else want to chime in before we move on?
Just to note again that it was already been emphasized, a collaboration effort here. But our state representative, our state senator, our county road department, our county commissioners, SEMCOG. There's been so many different people involved in helping build this project into something that's doable and helping bring tax dollars back to the township residents, and just such a great group effort. I really appreciate everything that people have done at all levels of our government to help support this township and this
Since
project.
we're passing out accolades, I should be remiss if I didn't mention Mr. Van Tiffelen, our land development director, Mr. Boxer planner, and our entire land development team. This is a huge lift, but we can see the finish line. We're not near it yet, but we can see it.
We've heard of it.
We've heard of it. Starting,
They are the unsung heroes of this entire project.
I know, they got to put up with you and me. All right, so this has been great. Let's move on to our next item is a presentation from our friends at Plant Moran on the financial statements for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2025. Floor is yours, gentlemen.
Congratulations on the project, and this is a hard presentation to follow, but congratulations. This is not as exciting. We're more historians now, so thank you for having us once again, doing the presentation of the financial statement audit for June 30, 2025 this year. My name is Martin Olenek. I was the engagement partner for the audit. With me is Jake Janes, who was the engagement manager. We have a few documents that were passed around earlier by the CFO, and in particular 3 documents. So we have the financial statements, the graphs, as well as the post-audit letter. The good news is we're not going to cover the financial statements page by page. We're going to just cover them through the graphs, and Jake's going to go through those. I did want to point out one item in the financial statements is that page 1 and 2 are the only items that technically belong to the firm, to Plant Moran, and that is the opinion letter. In the opinion letter, it is noted as an unmodified opinion. So in the accounting world, basically what it means is you can rely on the statements as they're presented. Based on our testing, everything, there were no exceptions or anything like that noted. That means you can rely on them when you do budgeting, et cetera. So it's exactly what you should expect every single year. And I do want to commend the township for being able to achieve that once again this year. The other thing I did want to mention right before Jake goes into the presentation for the graphs, I did want to point out that an audit is not an easy process for the township to go through. We ask for a lot of different schedules. There's a lot of preparation that's done by the township, a lot of invoices, a lot of data that's pulled for support, and it's on top of everyday responsibilities. Stacy Smith, as well as like the entire team, just needs to be, I would say, commended just for a great job as always. The records were in really great shape. There is an item that I want to point out that I'll cover in the post-audit letter, but I would say that records were in great shape as always. So just want to say thank you, and I realize it's a lot of hard work involved. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Jake. Feel free to ask us any questions you may have throughout, or you can hold them until the end and we can answer questions as well at that point. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Jake James is my name, audit manager with Plant Moran. Been serving the township since my career started in 2017, actually. So, longest standing client is what this is here. So, I have a handful of slides I want to walk through that present an overview of the township's financial performance for the fiscal year ending June 30, 2025, along with some comparisons to the previous 2 fiscal years. So, the first slide that we have here presents an overview of Macomb Township's governmental fund revenues. So simply stated, this is every revenue source to the township, excluding the water and sewer charges. At a high level, you can see that revenues in 2023 were 47 million, dipped a bit to 44.5 in 2024, and went back up to 50 million in 2025. There are a few key things that are creating these trends that I just want to highlight. So, first of all, property taxes, which is the top block there, continue to be the largest source of revenues to the township outside of the water and sewer charges. You can see they are on a consistent upward trend, which is what you'd expect given the continuing development in the township, along with increasing property values over time. Second thing I want to highlight, it's a bit hard to see the color on the screen here, but in 2023, there's a gray block that isn't really visible in 2024 and 2025. That's federal revenue. And what the trend is showing there is a very large amount of federal revenue in 2023 and comparatively little in 24 and 25. So the reason for that large block of revenue in 2023 was ARPA money, basically coming out of the COVID pandemic. Obviously a one-time source, created a large amount of federal revenue in 2023 that would not be expected to persist going forward given the one-time nature of the COVID funding. So if you were to exclude that $7 million roughly that you received in ARPA funding and spent in 2023 from that year, your revenue would be more of a step up rather than a dip in recovery as you see just at a high level. So that's really the main reason for the decrease from 23 to 24. Outside of that, the one other thing I wanted to point out was state sources. So state sources are the second largest source of revenue. The majority of this amount in each of the 3 years, roughly 10 million each year, is related to state shared revenue, which is revenue that obviously Michigan shares with its municipalities based upon population. So you've received a consistent roughly $10 million figure for the last 3 fiscal years. You do see a large spike in 2025 of roughly $3 million, and that's all due to a state grant that was received regarding safety of pedestrian crossings. Probably did not get the name right there, but I believe you'll be discussing that a little bit later today in the agenda. So, again, that's a one-time thing. I do want to point out, it's not visible on this slide, but the revenues and expenditures will be recognized in different periods specifically for that grant. So there will be a bit of a mismatch between the revenues recorded and the expenditures that are incurred associated with that specific grant. The next slide presents expenditures for the governmental funds. Again, this is everything outside of the water and sewer fund. So the categories here are a lot more consistent than you would have seen in the revenue side of things. Overall, you can see that there's kind of a reverse trend where expenses went up a bit last year and went back down in 2025. The nature of this is really one-time large capital projects that were completed in 2024, specifically the rec center roof replacement in Pittsford Park. There's a lot of just capital outlay associated with those projects. And obviously those are one-time things as well. So with those excluded and not recurring in 2025, expenditures went back down to a more normal level from where they were last year. The following slide shows fund balances for the governmental funds. At a high level, this is your assets minus your liabilities for the government. And once again, this is everything outside of the water and sewer fund. So overall, fund balances increased by roughly $12 million year over year. And that increase was consistent across all 3 categories that the township has on its financial statements, which are restricted, assigned, and unassigned. Restricted fund balances are basically fund balances you have on hand that are required to be spent on a specific purpose by law. So, for example, if you receive a grant to perform street construction, It's restricted for use in that construction of streets. Assigned fund balance is money that's set aside, basically designated for a purpose, but not required to be spent on that purpose by law. A good example here is money being transferred from the general fund to the roads fund to pay for road projects. And then unassigned fund balance, which is typically the largest category, is basically money that you have on hand to be used for flexible purposes. A good example is transferring to the road fund to pay for construction. So across the board, increase in all three categories, $12 million overall. I will point out that $3 million of that is from the pedestrian crossing grant, and the remainder is just a general excess of revenues over expenditures for 2025. The following slide is an overview of the township's pension plan, and there are two separate bars for each year here. So the blue bars on the left are the total pension liability, or in other words, how much is expected to be spent paying for pension payments through the course of the pension plan's life. And the orange bar on the right is the plan's net position, or the amount of assets it holds to pay for these future payments. So for each year, you've had an excess of net position over pension liability, meaning you have enough assets on hand to pay for the estimated payments going forward. Both lines in this graph, or both bars, to say, are fairly sensitive to changes year over year. So the pension liability, for example, is really an estimate created by specialists, actuaries, using a number of assumptions and data inputs. And if there are changes in assumptions, such as inflation rate going forward, things of that nature, you can see changes in your pension liability over time. On the other hand, net position is heavily affected by how well the market does. So if there's a bad year in the markets and your investments lose value, you see a decrease without really taking any action. So there is a change in both of these amounts year over year, just due to the nature of the world. The following slide is a similar idea. Would you mind going back just one, sorry? Yep, this one here. So this is the retiree healthcare plan. Similar idea to the pension plan. There's bars showing the total retiree healthcare liability for each year, then bars showing the net position each year. The trends are a little more, they pop out a little more here, particularly in the OPEB liability. So I want to point out that from 2023 to 2024, the liability did decrease by a significant amount. This was a result of the retiree healthcare plan switching coverage to a plan that had lower premiums, basically resulting in lower future expected payments and a lower liability as a result. That coverage remained consistent from 24 to 25, and as a result, the liability did as well. The net position, or total assets held by the retiree healthcare trust, did increase year over year, and I want to point out that this is entirely due to investment performance, as there were no contributions made to the plan. So the increase in the orange bar is essentially your investments doing well and gaining in value. And the last slide I have is just a quick look at the water and sewer funds revenues and expenditures year over year. So the key thing to look at here are the two lines at the top, operating revenues and operating expenses. You can see that these have been very consistent with one another year over year. So in 2023, revenues and expenses were nearly identical. Expenses exceeded revenues by a slight amount last year, and that trend reversed this year. But overall, there's been a heavy amount of consistency on an annual basis between how much you're bringing in and how much you're paying to service the water and sewer fund.
I'm gonna go to the post-audit letter, as mentioned earlier. So this would be essentially the bookend, like related to the pre-audit letter that you would have received a couple months ago. So the post-audit letter is broken up into a couple different sections. Section 1 relates to any items that we found of significance during the audit. There is one item this year, and it's actually a very unusual item, which had zero impact on your unrestricted fund balance, zero impact on overall budgets, et cetera. However, it relates to the $3 million grant that was received. Originally, the township recorded the grant as a deferred revenue, since the money hasn't been spent yet. Based on the way the grant is worded, based on accounting rules, technically it should be recognized as revenue. So since the dollar amount is pretty sizable, we had to notify you, those charged with governance, that we had to make an adjustment in order to make sure that the statements are in accordance with GAAP. But I did want to mention again that there is no impact on budgeting or anything like that. It's just I would say a very technical term, very wonky rule in the grant agreement that made it to be recognized immediately, essentially. Section 2 relates to comments just overall how the audit went itself. If there's any disagreements with management, if it was a smooth audit or not, any issues or anything like that, I am happy to notify the board, that the trustees, that basically it's a very plain letter. There was no issues or anything like that that you need to be notified at. Again, it was very smooth, and the township was very well prepared for the audit process itself. And then section 3 are legislative items. So this section basically relates to impacts every municipality, I would say, within the state of Michigan, and in many cases around the United States. These are for your reading pleasure at any point in time. There are a couple other items that I did want to, or items that I would like to point out within this section, just to kind of highlight. So a couple things is one, capitalization thresholds. The township can review those, see what the capitalization should be. A lot of times for accounting purposes, you can use pretty much any threshold, but I also realize that it becomes a really big task for the accounting team in order to capitalize these. The uniform grant guidance recently increased the threshold from $5,000 to $10,000. So we're just suggesting that municipalities to kind of take a look and see if maybe increasing a threshold makes sense. The other item that I wanted to point out here is the single audit for federal grants that are received. Typically, if a municipality received more than $750,000 in any given year in funds, you had to incur a single audit. This year, going forward, it's going to increase to $1 million threshold. So it's a little bit harder to meet, which means there's going to be a little bit less of single audits that are done. And then finally, the last item that I wanted to point out is on page 6 at the very bottom. There's a new GASB pronouncement that came out. GASB never, I would say, sleeps, so there's always new pronouncements, et cetera, that impact municipalities. This new pronouncement relates to financial reporting itself. Will definitely help the township in making sure that you're in compliance next year. It doesn't change anything that you do on a daily basis or anything like that. It's more the financial reporting itself at the end of the year. The financial statements will change slightly. So we're going to definitely assist the township in making sure that you comply with the new GASB pronouncement. That's all we had. If you have any questions, we'd be happy to address them. And I did want to say, again, thank you so much for all the assistance, and thank you so much for being able to assist the township with the audit.
Thank you. And thank you for all the work that goes into this. I know your team was here for a number of days. We know how lucky we are in our township CFO, Stacy Smith, who's back there somewhere. We appreciate everything you do to keep us on task, and if anybody were to really understand the number of times one of us goes to Stacy to ask for pieces of data, charts, graphs, and some other, information as we mine for ways to be more effective and efficient with the tax dollars entrusted to us, they would understand and maybe probably think she should deserve hazard pay for the amount that would bother her. So, thank you. Anybody else from the board want to? Yes.
Yeah, I've got a couple
Go ahead.
questions. Did you identify any areas that we could strengthen our internal controls?
Nothing of any significance at all. Kind of like the post-audit letter usually would identify anything that would be of significance that we'd find, and honestly, there was nothing that we found during the process.
Okay. And no other funds that we should pay closer attention to for the next cycle?
I would say nothing that you need to pay closer attention to. I always tell all my clients, to be honest, take a look at the state shared revenue on a regular basis, every, kind of plan ahead. I always just want to make sure that, what's planned is actually coming through. And I'm always kind of cautious that, there could be a dip or something like that. But other than that, there's really nothing in particular. Township clearly sees a lot of money moving around just from the perspective, grants being received, et cetera. So there's a lot of activity. I wouldn't say one's more significant than the other. And based on all the internal control testing that we've done, I didn't see any issues or anything like that.
Yeah. Anyone else? Treasurer's like?
No, well, other than to, again, thank them for the hard work they do with the finance department particularly, but also, with Carl and our staff in the treasury department. So I know he always frets a little bit when it's getting ready for audit season, trying to get everything ready, make sure everything's in order. But I'm glad to hear that it all comes together with a good audit like this, so thank you.
So with that, is there a motion to receive and file the audit report?
So moved.
Support.
Any questions or discussion?
That ought to do it.
Two of them. Motion by trustee Oliver, supported by trustee Lucido, to receive and file the audit report for the year ending June 30th, 2025. Members, please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you so much.
All right, now finally on to new business. Request to hire a clerical staff. This will be for the DPW department. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Support.
Mr. Tabaka.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor and board members. I'm looking to extend an offer of employment to Claire Gomez for our clerical position in the DPW department. We received over 20 applications. Claire has many years of clerical experience with both the private and public sectors. She has BSNA experience, which is a major factor within this position. This is a budgeted position. If approved, the anticipated start date would be the beginning of the year, January 5th. Thank you, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Baca. Any questions or discussion? Hearing none. Motion by trustee Oliver, supported by trustee Papa, to hire Claire Gimenez, is that how you pronounce it?
Gomez.
Gomez,
Gomez.
to the clerical position in the DPW department. Members, please vote. Apologize to Claire for butchering her name. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you, Mr. Tabaka. Moving on to item 11 is a request for Cummins Sales and Service to replace or repair the diesel engine on engine 1. The current request amount is $63,718.44. Is there a motion to approve?
So move.
Support.
Whispered it there. Sorry. Chief?
Mr. Supervisor, members of the board, at the November 12th, 2025 meeting, you authorized an emergency repair to the diesel engine on engine 1 in the amount of $12,343.05. At that time, it was believed that engine 1 had a blown head gasket. Once they removed the top end of the engine, they discovered damage to multiple cylinders, and we were advised that based on the damage, they could not make the authorized repair, and the recommendation for a new diesel engine was made. The total cost, as indicated, was $63,718.44. Engine 1 is a 2007 fire engine that was purchased new, currently has 112,878 miles on it, and is scheduled to be replaced with one of the new fire engines that was approved at last week's board meeting. Delivery of the new engine is expected in May of 2028. We're currently faced with two options at the time that this agenda item was repaired last Wednesday. However, since then, we do have a third option to discuss with the board. The first option was to approve the repair to approve the new engine at the $63,718.44. Second option was not to make the repair and sell the fire engine as is. As of this writing, we didn't have an invoice from Cummins as to what the work would be that was actually had performed. We did receive that yesterday. What they have done so far, if we were to take the engine and not make the repair or take it elsewhere, is $7,300. If we decided not to make the repair, we could be sold essentially for salvage, and it's estimated that we may receive $5,000 to $10,000 for it. If the repair is made and the fire engines returned to service and sold after delivery of the new fire engines in the summer of 2028, it's estimated that we may be able to sell it anywhere from $75,000 to $100,000 depending on market conditions at the time. And since this was originally written, we did now have essentially a third option, and that is the ability to essentially rebuild the top half of the engine at a cost of $23,669.70, which is what I passed out at the start of this meeting, so you could review it. So Cummins is recommending, if we wanted to go that route,
that they perform a test on the oil to make sure that the bottom half of the engine has no problems. There's no metal or anything, the crankshaft bearing or anything is failed or any of that. That test is about $100 and would tell us if it's worth putting the $23,000 into the top half of the motor. Trustee Oliver, we had some conversations late last week on the possibility of rebuilding it. He did reach out to some contacts that he has in Sandusky, Michigan, that rebuilds motors, and I believe they quoted somewhere around $23,000 to $24,000 if we were to tow it there and rebuild it. The tow bill to do that would be approximately $1,000 in addition to the $7,300 that we currently owe Cummins for the work that they've done so far. So those are our current options as of this evening. My personal recommendation would be is that we authorize Cummins to perform the oil test to see where the bottom half of that engine is at. If that comes back fine, then we proceed with the rebuild at the $23,669. If that were to fail, then either come back to the board for one of the other two options of replacing the engine or not making the repair. So I'm available for any questions or comments.
Thank you, Chief. So we do still have another engine that we were prepared to sell, right?
Correct.
However, that engine is just as old and has basically just as many miles on it. And if we were to sell the broken down one for scrap, as you mentioned, and put the other one into service, we risk being in the same situation with a catastrophic failure with that engine, which we would have to get fixed in some way, shape, or form because it would be our only other engine, right?
Correct, and that engine is 5 years older.
It's 5 years older.
It was
Okay,
replaced
I
with one of the two engines
So-
this spring.
So that's a risk. I do agree with the chief that we have to fix this one in some way, shape, or form. In order to know if the rebuild that's currently quoted at 20, what is it?
$23,669.70.
They have to do this oil test. And the oil test could in fact determine that the whole engine has to be replaced and they have to put a new engine in it, which was the original proposal at $63,718. But the problem is with any engine like this, and Charlie, you probably can chime in, they don't yet know all the problems until they finish all the and/or testing and/or taking it all apart, right?
That's correct. If I could, the oil test will prove a lot. The biggest issue is the crank bearings. And when they build crank bearings, there's metals that are built in them in layers. And if the oil test indicates certain metal that in the oil, then we'll know how bad that is. So the $100 is a great idea, and it's at Cummins now. They do good work. I mean, they're expensive, but they do good work, so.
So I guess my question for the board is, do we want to approve the highest amount, up to the highest amount, so that we can continue to move forward with the repair or replacement as the test indicates that we need? Or would you like to approve the lower amount and the $100 test and then come back in a couple of weeks and do more? I would propose an up to amount. And I know that even with the engine rebuild, there might be some incidentals. So I would suggest up to $70,000 with Cummins, I think would be a reasonable amount to make sure that the chief can proceed and get all the repairs necessary, with the understanding that he's going to proceed with the most cost-effective. That's my proposal. We'd have to amend the motion if somebody were to agree to that, or we could proceed as is, or we can amend the motion for the rebuild and the test. Anybody thoughts?
Mr. Chairman, I'd agree to that, being that we got the truck in there, and we're gonna need a truck, and our new trucks aren't on the way, so, just to do nothing, or just to say, stop at 23,000 is kinda dangerous, because once we get that oil test, that's gonna set the standards of what we're gonna actually do. And then if we approve up to, then we could trigger it off to either put the new motor in or rebuild it.
So before I ask Treasurer Gillette if he would modify his motion, does anyone object to that plan of approving up to 70,000?
I do not, but I do have a question for the chief, if
Yeah,
I
go ahead.
may. If we put the resources into either rebuild or replace the engine, would there be any consideration then of keeping the vehicle longer than expected, even beyond when we get the new ones in because of the new engine adding value as a backup vehicle of any sort, or will we still move in to sell it at that point?
So the plan is once we receive the 2 new engines in spring of 2028, once they're in service, we would take one of the 2 current engines that we have left from the 2007, and one of those would become a reserve engine. So my recommendation would probably be at that time, as long as there's no issues, that we certainly keep that engine as a reserve for the additional 5 years, seeing as we've put the money into it, into essentially a new engine.
We know we need an engine. We could press the older one into service. That's a big risk. Or we could look at this 64, 65, up to $70,000, basically as a way of renting, leasing.
Yeah.
For the next 2.5 years, basically, while we wait for the other ones to be built.
So, Mr. Chair, would the appropriate amendment to the motion be to authorize the fire chief through the supervisor to move forward to address the engine repair as up to $70,000 as determined by the chief and supervisor's office?
Yes, up with Cummins Sales and Service.
Okay. So then I guess I would amend my motion to request that, the motion state that the chief and the supervisor be authorized to spend up to $70,000 as needed with Cummins Sales and Service to either repair or replace the engine on engine 1.
Does the second approve?
I'll second it.
Are there any questions or discussion on that motion? Yes, Pete?
So I wanted to wait until we get the new motion out there before I ask the question.
Yeah.
So I don't know enough about engines, so maybe I'll lean on the chief and Charlie maybe on this here. Is there any possibility that we're, after the oil test and it says, okay, we can do this, that we're going to spend $23,000 to repair the top half of the engine, and then we're just kind of putting a Band-Aid on it, like the bottom half could blow out again too pretty soon or something like that? Would it be just better to just say, look, let's do it? We know we need it for at least 3 more years, and with any delays or anything like that, it could be up to 4 more years. We might as well just go and repair, replace the thing. I just don't know. I don't want to put a Band-Aid on it and end up coming back to replace it anyway.
That's why I got to rely, I mean, Chief has much more experience with these engines than I do, and he's relying on Charlie, who deals with diesel equipment all the time. I rely on them to make the best judgment possible based on what the techs at Cummins tell them.
Just to interject, the oil test is going to be the real test that, because it'll tell how war things really are. And once we get that, then we're gonna really know.
There's no guarantees. It's an old piece of equipment.
Yeah.
Anything else on it could break at any minute. Even if it's not the engine, it could be, drive shafts, leaf springs, whatever is on it could break. It's old.
I just don't think we're making a wrong move going up to the amount that we're saying, because one way or another, it's got to get fixed. So we just got to find out the best way. I would just say maybe before we do it, maybe we can revisit it and say, okay, here's where the oil test is at, here's where it is. Obviously, already giving the authorization to do it, but I kind of want to know where.
We can provide updates to the board and certainly come back at the next meeting with an update. And if there's any interim, we can let the board know how the chief is progressing.
Sounds good. Thank you.
So just, if I can interject real quick, had we have had more time on this, we would have had the oil test done sooner, but this came about 7:30 last night, where this whole option was finally detailed and told us about doing the oil test, that's probably the most important step right now. And then Trustee Oliver and I talked on the phone numerous times. He was in my office yesterday as we were trying to figure out options and best routes, but Had we have had more time, we would have certainly spent the $100, had the oil test before tonight. However, there was no way to get it done today, so whatever the authorization is, if it's authorized to proceed, we will have that approved first thing tomorrow morning, and then hopefully we'll have some better data to make some decisions on.
I could say this, though, for that unit to be at Cummins right now, them knowing its safety apparatus, if there's any doubt after that oil test, they'll be telling us to put a new motor in it.
Okay. Anyone else?
I'm good.
And again, sorry,
Yeah,
I don't want to
Chief.
interrupt.
No, go
but
ahead,
just to be clear, and it was in the written memo, the $12,343 that was approved November 12th, that is been eliminated, so that's not in addition to anything. That estimate, that work order, all that is gone, so that no longer exists, so it's not on top of what the board is approving tonight.
Thank you, Chief. So with that, there is a motion by Treasurer Gillette, supported by Trustee Oliver, to approve the repair or replacement of the diesel engine on engine number 1 with Cummins Sales and Service in an amount to up to $70,000. Did I read that correctly? With that, we'll vote.
Point of order, Mr. Chairman, and there's going to be a review at the next meeting?
Yes.
Thank you.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Chief, will you provide updates to the board directly as this progresses?
Yes, as soon as we have the results from the oil test and
You can just email the whole
other
board
information, I will
as the
email.
information comes out.
I'll email everyone so they're updated.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item, 12 is a request to execute a one-year contract extension with VC3 for the IT support services in the amount of $164,160.
So move.
Support.
Mr. Lepari.
Good evening, board members. The IT department is requesting authorization to execute a one-year contract extension with VC3 for IT support services. The annual cost of this contract is $164,160 billed monthly. The board approved a request to award a 3-year IT support services agreement to IT Right on October 27, 2021. That agreement had 2 one-year extension options. IT Right was acquired by VC3, and VC3 assumed the original contract. The board approved a request for the first extension with VC3 on November 13, 2024. VC3 provides necessary services that are required to support our users and IT infrastructure, including an unlimited help desk and software. The supervisor's office and IT department have reviewed the contract and feel that the renewal is reasonable and currently offers the best value for the township. There were no price increases during the first 4 years of the agreement, and there will be no price increase during the 5th year. This is a budgeted expense. I've included the confirmation and process memo from the purchasing department, and I can answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Mr. Lepari. So we've talked about this contract a number of times. I know you have done some due diligence, contacting other companies in Michigan, Southeast Michigan, about their ability to perform similar services. And so far, and you can add on to this, what you have found is that any other company to switch to will be significantly more expensive.
We believe so, yeah. We did have a couple estimates. One was double what we're paying now. One was around 50% more. And there have been a few acquisitions in this space, so I believe there's less competition now as well, which will probably drive up the prices.
And while we did have some challenges with VC3 at the beginning of our relationship, much of that has subsided and they're managing their workload.
Yeah, the service has improved. Response times have definitely improved lately. We have a good working relationship.
Okay. Any other questions or discussion?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I don't know if the finance department could do this, but could we have a list of the other items that have not gone up in price by a penny in the last 5 years? Right, so we're getting an incredible value here. I don't know if it's possible to ink another 1 in front of that 1 year, so it's an 11-year extension, would they notice? Because, I mean, we're getting a,
Probably.
I mean, this, a year from now, it'll be a much more challenging vote by this board to have to enter in a new agreement with a different, potentially different firm or go out to bid, and it's going to be jarring, the increase. So we're really getting a great deal right now and just extending this 0% increase.
Yeah, we do have to expect a big increase next year.
Yeah,
But we'll need to go out to bid.
unfortunately.
See.
Thank you.
Yes.
Is there any thought in the future, knowing that we're going to be so much more of bringing it in-house, or is
We'll
that
explore
an
every
option?
possibility. We have brought in a part-time employee for Jason, who's actually done a lot of good work for us. His name's Mike. He's been handling a lot of the on-site in the various departments, installing equipment, and that's, I think, been helpful. It's freed Jason up to do some more of the high-level research and issues with our network. So I think that's freeing up resources, and we'll explore it and we'll discuss it as that unfolds.
That's good.
Anything else?
Mr. Chairman, I have a question.
Yes.
How many work orders per month or contacts are there with VC3 under this contract?
It does vary. The summary from the last 3 months, I believe there were 68 tickets open in the last 3 months. That doesn't include proactive tickets. If there's certain issues in the environment or suspicious activities, those will generate proactive tickets as well. For example, we had a backup job that was failing the other day, so it generated a proactive ticket, and then the backup resource was able to get in right away and look at that issue.
All right. Is that an increase or a decrease from previous like periods?
I think it's pretty consistent. From the beginning of the contract, the numbers have probably gone down a little bit, but now it's a pretty consistent number.
And could you give me the names of the other services that give you the quotes?
One was Red Level,
Bread level?
Red Level,
Red level.
and the other was BAE. That's who Shelby Township picked a couple years ago.
Okay. That was my next question. Did you do a survey of providers for similar municipalities or government entities?
Yeah, we looked at who Shelby Township was using, and that was BAE. And their
Okay.
pricing was estimated to be around 50% more than what we're paying right now.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That's all I have.
Thank you, Trustee Kuzma.
Oh, one last question. Has there been any complaints with the service from VC3?
Sometimes there is delays in response times when they have staffing issues, but the last couple months, the average response times have increased, so we've noticed a difference.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Trustee Kuzma. Any other questions or discussion? Yep.
Just one quick follow-up. When you talk about those 68 tickets for the last 3 months, do they open a ticket when it's something you can fix in-house, or is that only when it's something we can't fix in-house?
We've instructed the users to enter a ticket for any issue.
Okay.
And then if it's something urgent or something we need to do in-house, then we will try to pick that ticket up, but we rely on VC3 to take care of most of those issues.
Okay.
And we take care of the bigger issues in-house.
Thank you.
So just to be clear, I mean, VC3 does a lot more for us than, our support help desk. They have a number of pieces of software in our system, right, in our network that help us with cybersecurity and other issues, training. We have the cyber attack training stuff. And they provide sort of the high-end support that Jason needs in order to make sure the network is actually operating effectively.
That's correct. They provide the endpoint security software that runs on every PC and every server in the township. They provide the backup software, and as you mentioned, they provide the security awareness training platform, and they manage that and manage
And they
campaigns.
monitor all of that.
And then there's monitoring that's involved as well. There's software that runs that monitors the environment, which again, it generates the proactive tickets.
Anyone else?
Mr. Chair?
Yep.
So next year, when this contract is up, that will be at the end of the year. If we are looking to either renew or put out for bid and stuff, I would think that we would probably want to be starting like late summer,
Yeah.
that way we
probably
can
around June,
kind
we'll
of
probably start looking at it.
transition if we
Yeah.
do end up going with
I think that's what we did
Correct.
last time, was we put out an RFP sometime in the summer, took a few months to evaluate, signed on with somebody with a few months to go, so we had some overlap and some transition time. Okay. Yep. Anyone else? Hearing no more questions, motion by Treasurer Gillette, supported by Trustee Papa, to execute a one-year contract extension with VC3 for IT support services in the amount of $164,160. Members, please vote. Motion passes 5-1 with Trustee Guzmano voting no.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lepari. Moving on to item 13 is the request to approve a quote from Forte for the boardroom audiovisual equipment replacement in the amount of $76,277.32. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Support.
So Forte, which is formerly known as AVI, is the company that originally installed the existing boardroom equipment and has been our support company since, which predates me, of all the equipment that we have. For the last 2 years, we have been looking for a upgrade/replacement. Our system is starting to get end of life, and some pieces of it have been end of life. In the last couple of months, we had 2 different failures where the meeting did not record properly, and we were unable to post the meeting like has been our practice. We've been looking for a system that is very user-friendly. We are not professionals in the AV world. However, we've learned that most of the equipment that is designed for this function is professional grade. So we did find a system that we believe is user-friendly enough that we can learn it. It is, unlike the system we have now, it can be programmed in-house with a lot of things. One of the challenges we have is that if any little issue with this current software, we can't fix it. We need to bring in a support person to actually get into the software and make any corrections. With this particular software, it's very similar to what we already have, but it's a little more open-ended and user-friendly. Originally, we think we budgeted, I don't know if Stacy exactly remembers, I think it was 100,000? 120,000, because we knew this would be a bit of an expensive endeavor, but all in, we were able to get a quote from them for $76,277, and that does include a support agreement, which actually is less than the support agreement we pay with them now, because I think the equipment is newer and will be easier to maintain for them. And with that, I will take any questions.
Sure, did we go to bid for the particular?
Oh, we did not. There's a confirmation of process memo. They are a member of a cooperative.
Thank you.
Question? Is there a lot of training with this?
There'll be some training. It's part of the package, and I don't remember how many hours of training, but they will come on site. They will help us install, and then they will train us on the software. They'll help us get it all set up.
That's built into this
Yes,
package?
everything's built into it. Once the system is set up, it's just really a matter of whoever is back there where Grace is sitting now is just clicking buttons and everything. It's got all kinds of integration that we have wanted to use. The system will integrate with Teams. We'll be able to remote people in directly into our meetings and into the live feed itself, so that anybody watching or recording, it'll become a part of that. So it'll be a lot more, I don't want to say, higher broadcast quality, because it's not really important to us, but it'll provide people that are watching the meetings with a more full experience of what's going on here, and the recording itself will be a more full record of what we do.
Good, thank you.
Yep.
I know this is separate, but would there be any cosmetic costs in having to fix up, removing the old cameras and equipment and bringing in the new
I
ones?
think we're keeping these 3 cameras. We are going to be adding a new one somewhere behind us so we can get a front view of the speakers at our new podium presentation station. Some of the cosmetic stuff our in-house team can handle if there is. I know we're going to decommission these 2 monitors behind us, so there'll be some stuff there. So there'll be a little incidental cost. I mean, the cost of our new monitor that's going to go on the front of that wasn't included in this. That was $650. So there'll be a number of little incidental things. Anyone else? With that, motion by Trustee Papa, supported by Trustee Lucido, to approve the quote from Forte for the boardroom audiovisual equipment replacement in the amount of $76,277.32. Members, please vote. Motion passes unanimously. All right, next item is our add-on. So it is as printed, a request to authorize the township treasurer and township supervisor to execute a modified grant agreement with the state of Michigan for the purpose of completing the road improvement and public safety project, the 21-mile road and Heinrich. The purpose of the modification of the grant agreement is to provide for a realistic deadline to complete the project. Gotta shorten that up a little bit. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Support.
Treasurer Gillette, you were instrumental in getting this together. You want to explain us what's going on?
Sure, just a quick background. This relates to the $3 million in funding that originally was acquired through the appropriation process, thanks to our state senator Veronica Kleinfeld, for the improvements of the 21 Heidenreich Road intersection. That grant, or rather that appropriation, went through the state education budget instead of the transportation budget, which has a tighter deadline once the grant money is dispersed. For some reason, the state sent us the entire $3 million before we had started the project, and then started the countdown on completing the project. We didn't have the capacity, obviously, to complete the project in the few months remaining. So we're working with the state education department, working through our state lawmakers, both on the House and Senate side, and we're going to redo the grant agreement, effectively send the $3 million back to the state, and they're going to disperse it in stages as the project is completed, which will mean we'll rewrite the grant agreement. That should give us plenty of time to complete the project.
Thank you, Treasurer Gillette. Does anybody have any questions on that part of it? I do have one question for council in a second. No? So Tim, typically when I've signed these agreements, I'm usually have like one signatory line. Usually just one authorized signer. I don't know about this particular agreement.
They'll be sending us a new agreement.
But I don't think we know what the signatory line is going to say, so I would suggest we amend the motion just to say approve a modified grant agreement with the state of Michigan forward and not necessarily name the signer. I can sign because I'm the official signer. If it's just one person.
And I'm fine with that.
Fine with that.
Charlie, I believe, to modify the motion then.
Charlie, are you okay with that?
Yep, I'm okay with that. Yep.
I'm okay with that as well.
And the motion second is as well?
Yeah.
Any other questions or discussion then on that particular motion? Well, there's a motion by Trustee Oliver, supported by Treasurer Gillette, to approve or to execute a modified grant agreement with the state of Michigan for the purposes of completing the road improvement and public safety project at 21 Mile and Heinrich. The purpose of the modification of the grant agreement is to provide for a realistic deadline to complete the project. Members, please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Okay, we are going to, after comments, we're going to ask for a motion to go into closed session, but before we get to that, we have public comment. Now, this is for non-agenda items. If anyone has anything they would like to say, now is your opportunity. You may approach the microphone. Mo, do you want to say anything? No? Come on up. Please state your name and address for the record, and there is a 3-minute time limit. I'll give you a little signal when you get close.
Okay, thanks. Donald Bordeaux, 22027 Chaucer Court, Macomb. I was over at the rec center on the 26th. I've been a member there off and on a couple times over the years, mostly just didn't maintain my membership after it had lapsed because of time constraints. I like some of the other gyms that offer more hours workable with my work schedule. Now I'm retired, and we joined last year for the 13th-month special. You pay 12 months, and when that lapsed, they don't accept silver sneakers. So being able to do that, I let the membership lapse, went to a establishment that honored the silver sneakers. So I do enjoy playing pickleball in the morning, and so I went over and wanted to join again, and they said, nope, no problem. Would you like to join for a year? Well, no, because inside, I don't want to play inside. You can go down to Pitchford, right? So, and it's your option. Can I join monthly? Yes, you can join monthly. However, if you lapse and you want to rejoin again, it's a $100 fee. Now, I think that that's exorbitant. I don't know how it could be justified to charge a taxpayer, senior, longtime resident, $100 simply to rejoin, let's say, in the fall. I think it's unfair, and I think what they're trying to do is force people into keeping their membership so that they don't have to pay that $100. And I sent an email to Mr. DeCaro outlining the same thing, and I got no response. So I'd asked the board to look at that, to be fair to their residents. I can't understand why there was a fee. So when I reinstated, I already had my little tab. It took me longer to fill out the paperwork than it took the lady that was doing it to reactivate my account. To charge people $100, I think is wrong, and I think that somebody needs to justify the costs that you're charging your residents before you charge people that. That's all I have. Oh, and one more thing. I am a member of the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, so I do have a little bit industry knowledge of the traffic signal system. And 23 Mile and Card Road is a huge waste of money. They do have smart capabilities, smart traffic control, and you can sit at, 8 o'clock at night with no traffic from North Avenue to Romeo Plank Road, and you will sit there for 3 minutes trying to make a left-hand turn. Macomb County Road Commission owes us, to use the capabilities we've paid for. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, no more public comment. We're going to move on to board comments. Trustee Lucido.
Nothing other than I'm assuming you're going to talk about the festivities this weekend and everything, so.
I will mention it,
Leave
yes.
that to you, and everybody have a good night. Thank you.
Trustee Papa.
Just welcome aboard to Claire. I won't butcher her last name, but welcome aboard.
Leave that to me. Trustee Oliver.
Same thing. Congratulations, Claire. You're gonna like it here. It's a good place to work. The other quick things, thank Amy O'Leary and everyone that was involved in bringing us that money. I mean, that's huge. And Stacy, thank you for probably doing most of the work, and your staff for the Platte Moran presentation. And that's it.
Thank you, Trustee Oliver. Trustee Kuzmano.
No comments tonight. Thank
Thank
you.
you, Trustee Kuzmano. Treasurer Gillette.
I also like to join welcoming back Claire, this time to our DPW department. So that's great, and I have no other comment.
Thank you, Treasurer Gillette. So I do have a couple of comments. Welcome, Claire. We're glad to have you back. Thank you very much to all of the folks that came here to help celebrate our award, to Amy O'Leary, our SEMCOG Executive Director, for presenting us with that giant check. Representatives from Lisa McLean's office, John James' office. I did forget to mention that there was a representative from Senator Peters' office here, as well as Representative Aragona. I do want to mention two things coming up this weekend, and please do not let the cold weather keep you at home. We have our holiday tree lighting on Friday, December 5th at 6:30 p.m. right here at Town Hall. It goes to 8:30. In addition to the tree lighting, there's an entire winter festival and a slate of activities for the kids and the families to enjoy, so please come and take advantage of that. It is all free. It is a great opportunity to come out and kick off the holiday season. And if that's not enough holiday for you, on Sunday, we have our second annual Santa Cruise. And if you're not familiar, a number of us, including a number of volunteers, have decorated vehicles. We have going to be a lighted parade going through a number of neighborhoods. You can find the parade route on our website. And the times at which we start, so please come on out and watch us as we drive by, all decked out for the holiday season. It's quite a sight. So with that, I'm going to ask for a motion to enter closed session to discuss a written legal opinion regarding the negotiation of a collective bargaining agreement between Macomb Township and the Governmental Employees Labor Council pursuant to MCL 15.2681CH and MCL 15.243(1)G.
So move.
Trustee Kuzma supports.
Is there any motion? Is there any discussion or questions on that motion? Hearing none. Motion by trustee Oliver, supported by trustee Kuzmano. Was that you? No, it was you. No. I wrote it in the wrong spot, sorry. Motion by treasurer Gillette, I do that once in a while. Supported by trustee Kuzmano to enter closed session to discuss a written legal opinion regarding negotiations of a collective bargaining agreement between Macomb Township and Governmental Employees Labor Council pursuant to MCL 152681CH and MCL 152431G. Mr. Carterman, will you call the roll?
Treasurer Drollet,
Yes.
trustee Kuzmano,
Yes.
trustee Lucido,
Yes.
trustee Oliver,
Yes.
trustee Papa,
Yes.
supervisor Viviano.
Yes, that motion is approved. We are entering closed session. The time is now 7:45 PM. Turning to open session, and the time is 8:21 PM. So at this time, I'm going to request a motion to approve the collective bargaining agreement between Macomb Township and the Governmental Employees Labor Council.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion that we not approve the tentative collective bargaining agreement between Macomb Township and the Government Employee Labor Council unless the provision providing for free gym memberships is removed from the agreement. If I have a second, I'll speak to it.
Trustee Kuzma seconds the motion.
Okay?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I believe it's symbolically bad that we require taxpayers to pay taxes to build the building and then charge them to use the building. At the same time, we do not require the same of our employees or ourselves. I think this is a symbolic element, not a dollars and cents element. I don't believe it should be included in this contract. I think that taxpayers are the people who pay for the building. You should be the ones that should be the top consideration. That government employees, elected officials, I know this doesn't cover elected officials, but government employees should not be treated differently than the citizens of this township, and the taxpayers of this township. So thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Treasurer Gillette. Anyone else?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to reaffirm and emphasize that no member of this board or of the elected officials receives that benefit.
Thank you, Trustee Kuzmano. Anyone else before I speak on it? So this is a point on which Treasurer Gillette and I disagree. We negotiated this benefit in the agreement in good faith. It is a zero-cost dollar to the township to allow our management team to use the gym that we already have. It's a building that just sits there. It is very common business practice in all organizations to offer their goods and services at free or discounted rates. The total value of their membership is significantly less than one might find, say, example, if you worked for GM or Chrysler. I think this is, while I appreciate Treasurer Gillette's position, I am going to vote no on his amended motion, and I'm going to urge my fellow trustees or board members to do the same. Any other comments or questions before we bring it to a vote? There's a motion by Treasurer Gillette, supported by Trustee Kuzmano, to deny, to deny the tentative collective bargaining agreement between Macomb Township and the Governmental Employees Labor Council unless the provision regarding discounted
Free
memberships at 100% for the rec center is removed. I said that properly? Are we going to do a voice vote? How do you want to do it?
We can do an electronic vote.
Electronic vote? Members, please vote.
You got a question, Pete?
Yeah, a yes vote is to deny. A no vote is to,
A yes vote is to deny the contract based on Treasurer Gillette's objection.
Okay.
A no vote is to basically not deny, but we would have to attend another motion if we wanted to do so.
understood.
So are we gonna re-vote?
If
Well,
this
if-
goes
yeah.
down, then we're going to revote.
Okay.
Verify that.
Motion fails with Trustee Kuzmano and Treasurer Gillette voting yes, Trustee Lucido's, Oliver, Papa, and Supervisor Viviano voting no. Now, I would again request a motion to approve the tentative collective bargaining agreement between Macomb Township and the Governmental Employees Labor Council.
So moved.
Trustee
Support.
Kuzma supports.
Oh, sorry.
Mr. Chair, if I may.
You may.
Thank you. I appreciate the, I'll be voting yes on this motion, despite the fact that I disagree with that provision, allowing for government employees to have free membership at the taxpayer-paid gym. But I believe this is obviously a bigger contract, substantially bigger contract than that, and the value of our employees rides on it. It's much bigger than that issue. So I will be supporting this motion.
Okay. Any other questions or discussion? I think it would be appropriate if council gave us a quick summary to enter into the record of the agreement.
This is the inaugural agreement between the Governmental Employee Labor Council and the Macomb Township. The GELC union is in place now, where it was previously the AFSCME union that decertified. In large part, the contract remains the same. The key provisions that were changed include adjustments to salary, which will include percent pay increases each year over the life of the contract, as well as retention bonuses based upon years of service. With the adoption of those tiers and retention payments, there is also an end to the previous longevity payment that was only provided to a number of tenured employees. There have been adjustments to the PTO accumulation bank to reduce the amount of bank that can be preserved for future payouts, thus reducing the township's future liabilities for PTO that is not used. There were also some revisions related to stipend payments that were nominally increased in $5 or $10 amounts. There were other adjustments related to use of PTO time in increments and the ability to use flexible spending time, as well as memorializing stipends for employees that participate as volunteers for elections based on whether you are a clerk's employee or a non-clerk's employee, which would determine what those would be. That's pretty much a summary of the major changes that were included, and I can answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you. Any other questions or discussion on the agreement? Hearing none. Motion by trustee Lucido, supported by trustee Kuzmano, to approve the inaugural tentative collective bargaining agreement between Macomb Township and the Governmental Employees Labor Council. Members, please vote. Motion passes unanimously. And with that, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Support.
Any questions or discussion? Motion by trustee Oliver, supported by treasurer Gillette, to adjourn the meeting. Members, please vote. Motion passes unanimously. This meeting is adjourned.
That's tomorrow.